All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest is here. Do we have the scene set up?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring him up in a moment here.
Okay, so last week we did a court of public opinion. All right, you guys out there had you said all kinds of vile things about my friend. All right, and he didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
So he sent a message that said, "Hey, bring me on the show. We gotta discuss it." All right. So our friend Bobby Trosset, aka Bobby Baltimore, is
And I
here.
didn't even do it right. Oh my god,
What'd you do?
I didn't make it the ticker like I was supposed to. I don't know why.
It should work with that.
No, it's fine. There we go.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring
Now
up
you can,
Bobby.
yeah.
There you go. Hey, there he is.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me on, guys. How you doing?
Doing all
Doing
right.
well. Doing well.
All right. Okay. Look, Bobby, you're saying that we were trying to cancel you. How? How are we trying to cancel you, Bobby?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm happy that you refer to me as a friend. You would not have known that having watched those 20 minutes. I can't speak for the other two panelists that were on here. I know there were. It was an onslaught. It was 4v1, so it's just the two of you guys. But look, let's hash things out. Let's have a civil conversation. I've had some fun talking about it on my channels. Definitely would like to know. Where Sarah and I have upset you guys in the past as it relates to hardball, because I'm not even aware of those comments. So definitely want to be educated on that. And I also want to clear a few things up as well from that 20-minute segment that I feel like, you know, stains a little bit about who I think I am and what I've built here in the area and who I am too. Because, there was a lot of misinformation going on, to be honest with you, throughout those 20 minutes. So I just came on to clear it up, introduce myself, have a good conversation surround it.
All right, let's talk about it. I mean, the floor is yours. First of all, tell us what you're upset about. Tell us what you didn't like and what you believe we got wrong.
Well, I mean, for starters, I'm out in Baltimore over the weekend, and I got people coming up to me, a handful of them, kind of shouting things at me related to the name. So, and it was in response to that specific video, in person, having the audacity to kind of come up and say some pretty hurtful things out loud. So, that took me off guard for sure. Obviously, that wasn't your intent, I would think. But there's certain things like, look, I'm not from Ohio. I'm not married. Uh, I don't feel slighted by the fact that my media credentials are no longer an accessible thing. And really, the reality is I'm from Albany, New York. Came to Baltimore in 2013 as a freshman at Loyola University, and I've been here or around the area ever since. I mean, it's over a decade, and so while I'll never claim to have roots from here, I did decide after my radio career came to an end in 2022 to embrace this Bobby Baltimore brand that some of my subscribers at the time kind of coined for me. And so I took that, I ran with it, I embraced it. I've built a company around it. And as I said on Twitter, I'm certainly not backing down from the fact that, fandom doesn't necessarily, a brand approach to a business does not equal fandom in my mind. And I've been true to that since the day that I arrived in this town. And I'll always be that way. I understand why you guys took issue with the tweet. I heard that through. But at the end of the day, I still feel like it's a fair observation that many folks were talking about as it related to the 2 days of attendance at the wild card game at Camden Yards. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have in terms of who I am, what I'm doing, about the brand name itself, about the tweets itself. MAGA Bobby, I have no idea where that came from. So I just thought there were a lot of shots taken, to be honest with you, over those 20 minutes. I just wanted to pop on and speak for myself.
Well, okay, let's start with the first thing you said. I mean, the people approaching you, we don't that's got nothing to do with us. Uh, this
No,
didn't
that's
start
not
with
something
us.
that we condone or anything like that. You can't
I
be
totally, I totally
running
get it.
up on people in public. And I mean, like if you want to walk up and maybe poke fun or something like that, or
Can you put him
make
on the
a
bottom there,
comment.
B?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Let me take
But
this sketch down.
being aggressively approaching people in public that you don't know is not okay, obviously.
Yeah, and that's got nothing to do with us. I don't even want to address that, to be honest. Um, you know, the tweets are what started this whole thing, right? You tweeting out, is this the right one? This right here is what started this. This had nothing to do with us. This happened hours before we even came on the show. Somebody sent this to us, which is why we discussed it on the Court of Public Opinion. This is you criticizing fans about not showing up to the ball game, right? And really, if I mean, I know you said it was a bloodbath, 20-minute bloodbath of us jumping on you. Really, our only point was, you know, don't tell fans how to spend their money. Like the other stuff, I don't care about. You can call yourself Bobby Baltimore or whatever. I don't care. But when you tell fans how they should spend their money, um, obviously they took offense to it. Obviously they're going to get mad about it, and that's what happened here. And he's asking you, did you buy a ticket? Because you're clearly questioning their fandom, right? And you responding, you're not a fan. Of course they're going to say, oh well, you're Bobby Baltimore. You're questioning them on why they didn't show up to the game, and you're not a fan.
I wouldn't say I was questioning anyone's fandom. I was making an observation based on what the tweet says. This is obviously a rare opportunity, which which the Orioles have now done back-to-back years, host at least one playoff game. And like I said, I mean, look, and here's the thing: the final numbers, as you guys probably know, they don't typically indicate the actual amount of butts that were in seats. And so when I say that they didn't come close to sellouts back-to-back days, I mean it. Like that's true, and it was evident on the broadcast, right? We all saw left field. And so really it's an observation out of a disappointment. It's not pointing at fans saying, how did you not spend your 4:00 weekday at Camden Yards? It's more like, wow, this is disappointing that a team that is on the other side of years and years worth of a brutal rebuild, right? Where forget left field. I mean, you couldn't even get people behind the plate all that long ago. And so to me, it was more like, wow, this is really reflective. And I went on to clarify this in one of my streams. It was really reflective to what took place down the second half stretch. And I think in anticipation of those struggles leaking into the postseason, I think that's what led, Birdland, the Orioles fan base, to, in part, not come out. And so I'm not planning on standing down on this one. I'm just not. And
Yeah, nobody's asking to, and that's fine if you explain that on your stream. But it started in the tweet, and people are challenging you to tweet. And I looked through your timeline; you didn't clarify it anywhere on your timeline, so that's why people were taking issue with it.
And if you read the tweet, you can certainly understand why someone says, or someone reads, that's a disappointing showing from Birdland, and take that as a challenge directly to the fans, right?
Sure.
You're saying, hey, you guys didn't buy the tickets, you didn't show up to the game. That's disappointing. And yeah, we don't really think that people should be telling fans how to spend their money, particularly. I mean, and this is kind of a whole different thing, but particularly with the cost of going to a game. Now I'm not, I don't know 100% on the baseball. I'm not a baseball fan myself, but I know that NBA, NFL, etc. Those costs get really high really fast. And
Oh my
there
God.
could be any number of reasons why people wouldn't show up on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Right?
Absolutely. And I'm of the belief that, damn it, I mean, the best way to watch a football game is at home.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you got an earpiece in and you can listen to the WBAL radio call, Jerry Sandusky, who's the best in the business, I don't even want to be in there. And to be honest with you, I've actually never attended. Here's the funny part about, and this kind of gets into what I sort of do here on a weekly basis. I've actually never attended a Ravens game as a fan in America. I went to London last year because it was a business trip, and obviously that was an exception, and it was an amazing product at Tottenham. But all the years that I was at the flagship stations, BAL and 98 Rock, I was in the press corps. And those of you who have been in that type of environment, it's soundproof. I mean, it can be a night game with the decibels through the roof. And yeah, you can hear it, but it doesn't like give you chills because it's a soundproof press box. And so, I've always tried to be respectful of the way in which fans spend their hard-earned money. A lot of this is up for interpretation, right? And perhaps you guys as fans, perhaps those in my mentions, in a hypersensitive time with the Orioles losing those 2 games and obviously coming to a screeching halt the season, I'd have to think that played a role in it as well. But I hear you. I respect that opinion, and I have mine.
That's cool. Now the MAGA Bobby part. Where do you think I got that from?
It's just
I
Like,
rarely tweet politics. I did a little bit in the off season. I certainly did when Trump was shot.
yes,
Um, what else? There's been
you
very few and far between memories of when I've aired my political beliefs
now,
online.
and this isn't like calling you MAGA Bobby. That's not a criticism of you. If you're a conservative, you're conservative. But you've retweeted a lot of different conservatives. You've criticized Joe Biden, which I mean liberals do too, right? But you have a bunch of tweets where you're retweeting Michelle Tafoya, what's his name, Vivek, whatever, at the Republican National Convention, like you see, you're pretty clear on your politics. I don't see a reason for you to hide that. If you're a MAGA guy, if you're if you support Trump, whatever, I mean you're tweeting it out there, and you don't stand down on that. So I don't see it being disrespectful calling you MAGA Bobby. If you called us, two liberals, pretty accurate.
MAGA Bobby was a thing to me because although these retweets would suggest that, I've never come out and talked about it. Politics, obviously, for the most part, I'm of the belief, stay out of sports. I think that's one of the beautiful parts of what we do. Being involved in sports is that it gives you a reprieve, especially during election season. So, do I lean right? Absolutely. Do I have other beliefs that don't necessarily fall in line with that side of the aisle? Without question. But I really didn't get in. I know I mentioned it off the top, but I didn't come here to talk politics.
That's fine. Over here, we do talk politics and we talk social issues. So that's not a belief that that we share, and that's fine. We're not gonna drill you on politics over here. That's fine.
And,
You gonna say
hey,
something,
and
B?
all power to you for incorporating it in. I mean, obviously, right now is a high point time to do that, and I get it.
no. I was just going to say, like, you may not explicitly say your beliefs on Twitter, right? But again, like we talked about with the previous tweet, you can see why that perception would be there considering what's on your timeline, right? And that's what we're going on. Obviously, we don't know you personally, right? Just like you don't know us personally. So, you see a segment on our show and you kind of talked about it on your show. We see what's on your timeline and we take that at face value and talk about it on the show as well.
See, and you're right. I don't know you guys, and you don't know me. This is the first time we've ever interacted. To be quite honest with you, and I mean no disrespect from this whatsoever. I'm not even sure what your first names are. So can we share those right now? Would you mind?
Yeah, I'm Jose, and that's Brodny.
Yeah.
Rodney or Brodny?
Brodny.
Yeah,
Rodney.
it's
Okay.
like
All right.
Rodney with a B in front of it.
I got you. Okay. Good to meet you. I just didn't do my due diligence prior. That's on me.
It's all good.
But with you saying, Brodny, that you don't know me, I guess that was one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way about that 20-minute segment, and it was that there was so much misinformation. It was as if and again, I don't want to put words in each one of your mouths. I know there were 2 other guys that were working as panelists that day, but it came across as there were words called referring to me as, fake, disingenuous, playing the victim, saying I have a wife, saying I'm originally from Ohio, right? Saying that I was fired. I'm happy to get into that in a little bit. I've been very, very outspoken about what took place with me at the radio stations. And then there was also like, hey, I don't know him personally, but yet there's also this like, okay, well, why are we speaking on him as if a lot of this is based in fact. And so I was a little rubbed the wrong way, to be honest with you, with a few of the labels that were attached to my name, because again, it was not your intent whatsoever to see what happened, now to be aware of what happened to me. And it's not a big deal, right? It's verbal stuff. None of it was physical. But there were a lot of names thrown my way, a lot of name calling late at night in Fells Point last weekend. And I'd have to think that it was related to this storm that was caused, whether it was through Twitter or through your show. There's no way of knowing which it came from. And again, I take you guys at face value. I understand that was not your intent, and I respect
Oh,
it, right?
I think we know. I mean, we're pretty small, although we like to call ourselves the premier nano influencers. We are nano influencers. We're a pretty small operation here. I don't think word got back to Fells Point about this.
Hey, it's, as you guys both know, I don't know what your roots are, but you know it's Baltimore. And I don't think you should devalue your show like that. I get it. It could be far-fetched, right? Who knows? Point is this was enough of a conversation for multiple people to throw jabs at me, unlike I've ever received in person over the weekend at Fells Fest. Could be a drunken thing, could be completely irrelevant to what you guys were saying. I just wanted to throw that out there because it never happened. I've been here for 10 plus years, and maybe it just shows you the temperature of where things are right now. But look, I'm not gonna be, I won't lie. I was a little rubbed the wrong way by the way in which some of the labels were being thrown around.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and look,
wait, I just want to correct him on a couple of things because he said that we had some, we put out some misinformation, which we didn't.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
I just ripped it all down. I gave you 5 or 6 examples.
Okay, well, let me correct you. I mentioned Ohio during the video. You didn't watch. You yourself said you didn't watch the whole thing.
I got around to it today.
I was corrected multiple times throughout there that you were from New York, and I corrected that you were from New York, right? The wife thing wasn't about you having a wife. I was referencing something that what's his name did
happened with Ryan Mink.
Ryan Mink, right? I was making a joke about that, and people were like, "Oh, he's not married." I said, oh, "Okay, well, whatever. Replace wife with a dog or whatever." We're making a joke. I never said that you had a wife. I was just saying, when people are getting attacked on Twitter for things that they say, they like to deflect and say, "Oh, well, don't bring my wife into this, or don't do that, or whatever." Right? Instead of just saying, "All right, I messed up in what I said. My bad." So no, we didn't get it wrong, right? I didn't know in the beginning. I was asking a question. They corrected us in the chat, and I think Hendo knew. So we said, "Okay, you're from New York."
Moral of the story is, as you said off the top, you didn't do your research and you were speaking on something that you knew very little about.
I mean, this is coming from a guy who didn't even know our names before he came on the show.
Well,
after
Lunch Break Hot Take is the name. I thought there were 4 of you. I couldn't find him in the show notes, so.
Did you think that there were 4 of us? Because you discussed this on a segment on your show when there were only the 2 of us before.
I think it was 3.
Okay,
I think Hendo was on that one.
This is where I don't have any recollection of where you guys were brought to this point where me and Sarah said something about the Harbaugh conversation referring to you as toxic. I need to be educated on that in terms of where that went awry.
Okay, I'll play that clip in a minute. But like, what does due diligence mean to you? Like, you say we didn't do our due diligence, but you say you thought there was 4 of us. You didn't know our names. Like, what does due diligence mean to you? Like, if you asked to come on the show, but you didn't do any homework. You didn't look at any of the videos. You didn't look.
I heard everything I needed to hear. I heard everything I needed to hear. I didn't have your first names. I looked at the show notes. I was looking up various things. There's a lot going on. We're mid-football season right now, and we're both carving out time for each other, which I appreciate.
I understand that. Everybody's busy. I get that.
Everybody's going to, regardless of football season, everybody's got busy lives, obviously. But it just, I spent a couple minutes on it, actually listened to the full thing today, and that was that.
Right. So you're saying you didn't like that we said something without doing our due diligence. That's what I'm asking you. What does that mean to you, doing due diligence? We obviously did our due diligence on you, right? We researched you, we researched the vault, right? We're not avid listeners of the show, right? But we do our research when we come on here and discuss topics. That's why I'm pushing back on what you're saying.
Okay. I look, I'll rip off the same things that I just mentioned to you. You said off the top of your 20-minute segment, you didn't research right off the rip. Okay.
Didn't research what?
Somebody said within those 20 minutes, in the opening moment, I didn't do any research on this, but let's talk about it. Okay. There was the Ohio, like you came back and corrected the Ohio thought, but there was
Mm-hmm.
still conversation about that, right? What if somebody dropped off after that and they didn't think anything of it?
Hmm.
There was talk about me being fired. That was just kind of thrown out there. Oh, I'm not sure. Was it a parting of ways or was it a fire? The
Yes.
media credentials conversation came up out of a Facebook post that I put up in the
Correct.
past. I was called fake. I was called disingenuous. Baltimore sports is none of my business, or the fans is none of my business. Victim, wife, even though you've clarified that was the Mink thing. Those were the notes that I had after
Right.
listening to 20 minutes of what just kind of felt like, let's just throw this together. Let's throw some stones here, have a little bit of fun with it. Let's throw a thumbnail up here with Bobby in front of the bank. Let's do some caps in here. Let's expose the hell out of them. Let's get some viewers on here, and you got that. That's for sure.
I'm glad that you said about the Ohio thing. Like, what if somebody kind of stopped listening after that, after it was mentioned and before it was corrected, right? Because that kind of gets to my issue uh, with kind of this whole thing. I mentioned, I don't like when people tell fans, "Hey, you should be spending your money doing this, whatever." But just the Bobby Baltimore name in and of itself rubs me the wrong way as well, right? You don't have to be a fan of the Ravens. You don't have to be a fan of the Orioles. You don't have to be from the area. That's fine. And I understand that you do say on your show that you're not a fan of those teams. You're not from the area, right? But by that same token, people who listen to your show, even people who listen regularly, may not hear you say that, right? Because we have a lot of comments people have made to us that, wow, I didn't know he wasn't from the area. I didn't know he wasn't a Ravens fan or an Orioles fan. And the problem that I have with it, what rubs me the wrong way, is that when you brand yourself as Bobby Baltimore, you're putting out that certain image, right? And you can say, hey, yeah, I mentioned on the show that I'm not a fan of these teams. I'm not from this area. But when you say I'm Bobby Baltimore, here's my background with the purple like the Ravens, with the orange like the Orioles, you're expecting a certain reaction from fans, from people who don't know who you are, who haven't heard the show, who haven't heard you say that you're not a fan. You're expecting them to kind of think, okay, this is a Baltimore guy. He's a fan of the Ravens. He's a fan of the Orioles. Let me check this out. Right? Would you argue with that or no? You say that's pretty accurate.
Sure. I guess it would be up. By the way, can we move on from the just on the slide part of this? Can we move on to just the three
Yeah,
screen
I
of
mean,
us
yeah.
since we're on from
Sure.
politics?
Well, okay. I'm gonna keep this scene. I'll take down the tweet, but I'm gonna keep this scene up because I'm gonna play the video because you asked where
Well,
where
before
you
you
and
do,
Sarah talked about this before.
you mind if I just respond to Brodny first there in
Sure,
terms of,
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, look, it certainly, I totally see where you're coming from. It can be up for interpretation, but most Baltimoreans who wouldn't know me, right? And you put a blinder around him and you take off the blinds and you say, do you think this guy has an allegiance towards Baltimore? I get it. I do understand that. Um, that said, I will continue to be mindful and make sure that I reiterate something that I have been so upfront and honest, especially in a town like this, right? It is a diehard sports town. We know the rich history that comes with these two clubs. And I was lucky enough to have a fantastic encyclopedia mentor in Keith Mills when I first got the broadcasting job for the Ravens radio station. I literally drank from the fire hose from him, heard incredible stories about the 83 Orioles and everything in the 2000 Ravens and the 2012 Ravens, just everything in between, right? And so I totally respect the fan, the Baltimorean. And so uh, that said, this was a nickname gifted to me, given to me, suggested to me by my own audience base, and after careful thought, and after I was fired by the Ravens radio stations. It was not the right fit in March of 2022. I took a severance package. I left the area for a few months to go back to New York while keeping my place here. Reflected on some things and decided to launch my channel not long after. And to me, it was something that fit what I was trying to build. And still, the mission from day one has been to be the opposite of fake, to be truly transparent, to be upfront and open and direct about what it is that I'm building, where my allegiances are. Because the truth is, the day that I got into broadcasting, I wanted to be a play-by-play broadcaster, and who knows where life takes me after this. But when I left the traditional side of things in 22, when I was really shown the door, right, I went the non-traditional side and it came with its own set of risks. And with that, I kind of leaned away a little bit from where I was chasing all throughout my 20s, which was sort of your like studio broadcaster, your traditional type of broadcaster approach. And what I wanted to bring with me though was that lack of allegiance. Like the day that I got into broadcasting, I was told by a mentor, hey, if you can strip your loyalty of New York sports across the board, you're going to be better off. You're not going to come across as biased. You're going to have more of a love for competition. You're going to have more of spirit for the game, right? And that has been literally something that I have stood tall on for years. And so I get it. From the outside looking in, I could see why it's left for interpretation. But it is something that I feel strongly about, and those who are familiar with the following, the show itself, I think they respect that.
If you're looking to strip allegiances as a broadcaster, as a journalist, as a YouTuber, whatever it may be, like I said, whatever wherever you go in the future, why switch to Bobby Baltimore instead of just using your name?
Well, like I said, I think it was a fit.
Is
You
it
know,
is it just? I'm sorry. I was going to ask, is it just that it's a catchy name and you just kind of liked it, and the
sure, I think
fans
I
like
think there's a catchy part to it. I think that there's
it?
the fact that the audience kind of started to catch on to it a little bit. I'm telling the truth here in terms of
No, yeah,
like
so
like like this was something that was given to me. Now, have I taken it and ran with it? Absolutely. I mean, I got a decal on the back of my car through the sponsorship that I have here in town at a local dealership. I've got certain little pamphlets that I'll have when I'm out doing shows and whatnot. Look, I have a passion, a burning passion for entrepreneurship, and something that I found within this journey, the last couple years since being out of radio, is that wow, while I don't lose sleep over losses or even like insane primetime wins for the Ravens, I truly enjoy what I'm building. I feel like I'm building something along with Sarah and on my personal channel as well, which is why we're here. Um, that is unique to the market. That's unique to where we're headed in the digital media age, and it's opening up doors for me. And so I would be lying to you, right? Fully transparently, I would be lying to you that I can't selfishly say, of course you want both teams in town to do well, because it's the more exposure that I'm for what I'm building, right? I'd be lying if I didn't say that. But I can't sit here and tell you that I'm a diehard fan because I'm just not. And so a lot of this is simply just business to me. That might offend some people who are diehards, and I get that. And that's just how I feel, and I'm never really going to waver from that because it's just how I've always been and the mindset that I've committed to.
now, Bobby, I don't have a problem with anything you just said right there. Right, I don't care about the name. You can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. But my question is this: if you're not a diehard fan, you're not that emotionally invested into it, why put out the tweet questioning fans and the turnout at the stadium? I think that's what got everybody upset. Like, I mean, you're bringing it to us, but really, it's the tweet that you put out there. It was what got people upset. I mean, and there have been tons of people that have been retweeting that called you out on that. They didn't like that you took a shot at them.
Yeah, I mean, you refer to it as a shot. Others might as well, clearly, based on the interaction with that tweet being pretty lopsided, not in my favor. To me, it was an objective observation. It was an objective observation based on fact, based on what I saw as a trend that, like I mentioned earlier on, with sort of this anticipation that what plagued the Orioles down the stretch, potentially leaking into the postseason. And I think that led to what it was, and whether or not that you can go all the way back to the trade deadline, the underwhelming trade deadline, then all the decimated with the rotation injuries,
Mm-hmm.
and then not being able to hit with runners in scoring position, and just so on and so forth. And so, um, to me, that's really all it was. And if it was a shot to some, I'm
I
sorry they
think
feel that way.
I think if you added context to that, there wouldn't be any issue right now with fans, right? If you said, "Hey, low turnout, I think it's because of X, Y, and Z," hashtag Burnland, whatever. You be having a conversation with people, agreeing with you or discussing the situation, but you just said poor turnout, and when somebody challenged you on it, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm not. This has nothing to do with you guys. I'm just kind of speculating here. I'm just kind of reporting what I see." You pushed back and said, "I'm not a fan." So, like, how would you take that? If the roles were reversed, like if you took it as, oh, you're saying I didn't support my team because I wasn't out there, and I'm asking you, did you get a ticket? And you're like, well, I'm not a fan. I don't have to support them, right? Like you can see why people would be upset by that.
Hopefully, it gave John. I think it was John. Is that who it was? I think hopefully John got the context that he needed.
Yeah, John
John
Keller.
Keller. John Keller. Did
Yeah,
you buy a ticket? I'm not a fan, John. And obviously, you see the pile on there, and
and
um,
Jeremy.
yeah,
I
and
hope they're
Jeremy
watching.
coming in.
Yeah,
What's up, Jeremy? Hey guys. But yeah. I mean, look, John is entitled to his opinion. You guys, of course, are entitled to your opinions. I've clarified, obviously, on a separate channel, right?
sure.
On a separate app. Could it have been quote tweeted? Sure. Too late now. Um, and again, I hear everybody's opinions. I appreciate them, and I appreciate you guys spelling them out.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So you asked about what you guys said about us before, right? You guys actually did a segment on a clip that you guys found from us. This was after the AFC Championship game. Put out a clip, and I was discussing how we shouldn't criticize Lamar for not running in that game, right? The onus is on John Harbaugh, and Sarah more than Bobby was twisting our words around, completely took it out of context. I mean, I think it's obvious from the clip that how she phrased it wasn't what we meant. But I'll play the clip. I cut it down a little bit because it was kind of long, and like you played other clips, so like I kind of just clipped it together. But I mean,
Okay.
it's on your show. But I'll play it. Let
Yep.
me find it here. Here we go. Agree with this. Lamar Jackson knows what he's doing out there. He needs to not go out there and just take off every single time somebody's not open. Hold your coaching staff accountable. He's not the running back of this team. Okay, he's running plenty already.
Yep.
But the problem is every time he makes those spectacular runs, it takes the pressure off the coaching staff and it gets them lazy. And they're saying, "Oh, well, we don't have to do better with our play calling.
Yeah.
We don't have to do better with getting
Personnel.
personnel. We can just he'll bail us out." No, he needs to keep doing what he's doing and put the onus on Harbaugh.
Okay, so the debate kind of is like how much should Lamar Jackson take off and run, right? And so really at the end of the day, we have to trust Lamar to be able to make that decision because at the end of the day, it is his decision. And so, but I think there's room to say specifically and I feel like he's handled it well all season, but specifically in that AFC Championship game, there seemed to be some easy yards that was right there for the tanking, and Lamar didn't take it. And so people are projecting saying he didn't take it because he wanted to win from the pocket. I don't know that. I don't know. Lamar hasn't spoken on that yet. Nobody's asked him that. So I don't know. But here's what I do know. From the, again, let me get the name right. From the first podcast, Lunch Break Hot Take. His reasoning for saying Lamar shouldn't take off, and he put it more in the phrase every single time. I'm not looking for 2018 Lamar. In fact, I like the 2023 version of Lamar.
Yeah.
But I wish he would have pulled out that Superman running cape a little bit more in the playoffs. I think that's an appropriate time. But here's what I really want to push back against. He said, no, don't run because put the accountability on John Harbaugh. And then he said for personnel, which is Eric DaCosta and the scouting department,
That's
right?
crazy. That's crazy.
When you're in the middle of a game, particularly an AFC Championship game, and there's yards there, the advice to say don't take off so that you can hold your head coach accountable. Now, look, I've already said, I've been on record, it was coaching malpractice that game. I didn't like the game plan. I didn't like it at all. Ravens got outcoached. Ravens got outplayed. That does not mean that going forward, your new mindset is the way I'm going to play is to make sure that my coach is accountable and not me. Bobby, I think we've both played sports enough, and you don't even have to play at the highest, in the world, but I've been covering the highest in the world since 2005. To play so that you're not getting blamed means that you're playing with an expectation to lose. So if you're
playing with fear.
And as Drew said, and I want to give credit to him, Drew had said on Twitter, you care about winning games, not getting into an accountability battle. It's toxic, Bobby. And it's the same thing I pushed back against all last season, but in different terms, which was the contract negotiations. I had seen so many contract negotiations with other stars, whether it was Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, all these guys, and the outside talking points are toxic.
All right. So that's the clip that we reacted to initially. And you can see how she took what we said out of context there. And to finish it off by calling us toxic, I mean, that's ridiculous.
That seems like that was January 2024. That was after the AFC title game, like you said, or maybe early February.
I'm sorry, Bobby. Hold on a second. I switched the scenes, B.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring it back up.
That was my fault.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, go ahead, Bobby.
You guys got me?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was January 2024. To be honest with you, we produce so much content on a daily basis that I don't even remember it. And to your point, I didn't remember it up until the clip. And to your point, I think that's between you guys and Sarah.
Well, you co-signed it.
I don't know what I said after. I don't know what I said afterwards, but that's between you and Sarah.
Well, no, it's between you two. You co-signed what she said. You said it was ridiculous. You also you had some more to say after that. I couldn't put the whole clip in there, but you pretty much agree with what she said, and you kind of jumped on it as well.
I mean, I don't really have much to say. The clip is the clip.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I mean, you want me to change my opinion?
You don't have to. No, you don't have to change anything. I mean, you're saying you didn't know like what we were talking about when we said that you took a shot at us. There it is.
I didn't take the shot, so.
Well, but again, when you talk about doing due diligence and things like that, you came here onto our show tonight not knowing who said what about you. There were 4 people on screen. I thought there was 4 people on the show. I don't know your names. I don't know the other 2 people on the show. But when we talk about what happened on your show, talk to Sarah.
Well, I mean, you guys just heard the clip. I mean, she was direct. She was steering that conversation. And did I, like to your point, did I go along with it? Yeah. I mean, in the moment, yeah. And I agree with what she said. Am I calling you guys toxic? No, it's the conversation surrounding it. It's not you guys. It's the conversation. So
do you think from that, you saw our clip. Do you think from that clip we were saying Lamar shouldn't have run in the game so he can show up the coach?
Play your portion again, if you would.
Sure.
Just your portion, if you would.
All right, I'm going to cover us up. I'm going to go back to the other scene.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, go back to the other scene. That's where I have it be.
Well, now you can just edit here real quick. Hold on.
I got it. That's fine. I got it. Agree with this. Lamar Jackson knows what he's doing out there. He needs to not go out there and just take off every single time somebody's not open. Hold your coaching staff accountable. He's not the running back of this team. Okay, he's running plenty already.
Yep.
But the problem is every time he makes those spectacular runs, it takes the pressure off the coaching staff and it gets them lazy. And they're saying, "Oh, well, we don't have to do better with our play calling. Yeah. We don't have to do better with getting personnel. We can he'll bail us out." No, he needs to keep doing what he's doing and put the onus on Harbaugh.
Okay, so
All right. So what do you think?
And your question was, do I think what?
What did you get from that clip? Did you get that we were saying Lamar shouldn't run in the AFC Championship game so he can show up his head coach?
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. It's not a. I don't view that as toxic. Were the words taken out of context a little bit? I could see why you feel that way. Does she speak with a certain conviction and passion that doesn't necessarily reflect her meaning of or the way that she means to come across internally? Yes, I believe that. I've been working with her for 2+ years. She's been on record for saying such. So toxic is a strong word. And yeah, but if so the way that she took it, though, we can all agree that that type of mantra would be toxic, but it doesn't necessarily say that that's what you guys were going at. So I'm with you.
Okay. You got anything else, B?
No.
It seems
Not-
like we're
not really.
ending on a little bit of we had a good momentum building here, and once Sarah's clip came up, it seems as if your demeanors have changed a little bit in terms of where we're at. Did we not make good progress?
No, nothing's changed. If I switch this back to the other scene,
I'll,
will he
I'll,
come
I'll
up?
go ahead and switch it.
Okay.
I'll-
All right.
Don't
All
worry
right.
about it.
B handles this part of it. See, when I tell you we're a small operation, this is a small operation over here.
It's all good.
No. I mean, that's fine. Your answer is your answer. That's fine. I mean, I'm trying to address all the things that you were saying on your show, and the issues you took with us. I don't think we put out any misinformation. I mean, like some of the strong opinions that we've had on the show, you may not like. That's fine, but I don't think we put out anything that was misinformation. Right? We addressed the Ohio thing. We addressed the wife thing, the firing thing. We didn't say anything that was inaccurate. Right? So you don't like it. I get it. I mean, we didn't like it when you talked about us. That comes with it. But
Hey,
I
we
don't
both don't
think.
like things, right? You guys aren't a fan of what I've leaned into business wise,
Sure.
and I'm not a fan of that 20-minute segment. And so, we could be here all night, right? In terms of trying to find some middle ground.
But you know what though? But you know
Um,
what? But see, this is, I guess, this is where we differ, right? Like, if you don't agree with Sarah on something, it's, hey, talk to her. If I don't agree with B, then I don't agree with B. Like, B has a different opinion on that than I do. I'm fine with your whole setup. You want to call yourself Bobby Baltimore? That's fine. You're running the business. Me and B are trying to run the business over here too. We have a brand that we're trying to build too. We're doing it differently, but you can do it the way you want to do it. I don't have an issue with it. The only thing I have an issue with is you telling fans, or perceive, what we perceive is you telling fans, you need to go out there and spend your money. It's a poor showing. That's the only thing I took issue with. B has a different issue than I do. So we can have disagreements like that. I don't have any problem, saying that on the show.
and you should, you shouldn't have a problem with it. That's your interpretation of it. To me, it's that perception thing, like you said. And there's a lot of people that obviously agree with you based on the interactions within the tweet. Look, hopefully the big takeaway here is with the disagreements that aren't changing. I think it's refreshing in 2024 that three guys who don't agree can hop on a live stream in a public forum and talk through things in a relatively civil manner. I got respect for the two of you for saying yes to my suggestion to come on. We've hashed a lot out. No idea if we're going to talk again. And honestly, that's not even the point of it. Hopefully people got something out of it. And I appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks for coming on and defending your position. Like I said, obviously we don't agree, but that's fine. Bobby, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so Bobby Baltimore across all channels, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Sarah and I have a podcast called The Vault, Daily Ravens Show, 12 to 1 Eastern. We'll take a look at Ravens Commanders at 12:30 on Friday with Grant Paulson, who 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. Looking forward to having him on. and should be a good one. I mean, maybe back-to-back shootouts. We'll have to see here. Jaden's a problem, and as I heard you guys talking about prior, there's a lot that needs to happen on that back end, and hopefully Dean Pease can figure that out, because Sunday was let's just say it's clean living being on the right side of a shootout. So I hope you guys enjoy the game, and maybe we'll cross paths again.
You also do a roundtable, correct? Like with another channel, roundtable show.
That's what I was doing right before I came on with you guys. AFC North Roundtable, 6:00 Eastern, Wednesday nights. Sort of a startup YouTube channel type thing.
There you go. All right. Well, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. And who knows? Maybe we'll cross paths again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby.
Bye-bye.